The other day, I was on the internet for the very first time, and I noticed that there were a lot of people on there asking questions about their lives. As someone who has never really had a question about his own life, I've always been very curious about what that feels like, to be so inquisitive and so unsure about things. So I think what I'm gonna do right now is live vicariously through some Redditors who are just unsure about things. And while I'm doing this, something else I might even do, you know, if I'm really feeling it, is give some advice as someone who does know everything. Hi, by the way, I'm Internet Julian from the YouTube channel called that. And now my body is Megamind, but my head is still me, so don't worry. Fundamentally, nothing has changed for the purposes of this video. And now it looks like I'm just like him, kind of. If you saw this, be honest, if you saw this, you would think I'm really Megamind. You would be like, whoa, where does Julian end and where does Megamind begin? This is from r/AITA. Am I the asshole for not getting rid of my life-size gorilla statue even though my girlfriend hates it? Me, 25, 26. So, a little backstory. About a year ago, I bought a life-sized gorilla statue, as one does. He's sitting down, not standing, but still full-sized, about the size of a real gorilla if it was just chillin'. His name's Charlie. I got him for about $2,000, which I get sounds dumb to a lot of people, but it was a one-time splurge, and honestly, one of the things that makes me smile every time I walk into the room. There better be a picture of this gorilla statue, because I think that's the most important thing right now, is I need to see what it looks like. Is this like a big cartoon gorilla, or is it like it looks like a real gorilla just chilling there? Charlie sits in the corner of my living room. He's not hurting anyone. I've been trying to get him to hurt everyone. Friends love him. Doctors hate him. Most people who see him laugh, and he's sort of become a running joke among my circle. I don't drink, smoke, or throw money around. I just thought it would be funny and cool to have a giant gorilla in the house. Call it dumb, but it brings me joy. Anyway, my girlfriend, her name is 26F, moved in with me a few months ago, and ever since, she's made it very clear she hates Charlie. She thinks he's ugly, childish, and says he makes the apartment feel like a man cave. I offered to move him into another room or decorate the space around him to make it more cohesive, but she shot that down. Lately, she's been more direct, basically saying I have to choose between her and the statue. At first, I thought she was just venting, but she's serious now. She says I'm being immature and not considering her feelings about our shared space. I get where she's coming from, I do, but at the same time, this was my place before she moved in, and Charlie's been around longer than she has. Look, man, I know the monkey brings you joy. It would probably bring me joy, if I'm being honest. But here's the thing, it's not your space anymore. It's her space as well. And I know you've talked about moving it to a different room or something. I think that would be the solution, is to put it in storage. Something you don't always get from these Reddit posts is the vibe, which is a very sort of nebulous thing that's really hard to ascertain just from the story, you know? We don't really exactly know the dynamic between these two people. We don't know if this guy's like really obnoxious. That's not really something that always comes through in a Reddit post. To be honest, it is coming through a little bit here. I think he seems a little obnoxious. There's nothing wrong with getting a big expensive statue that brings you personal enjoyment, but it's clearly causing her a lot of distress and it's bothering her a lot. So what I'm trying to figure out here is this a money thing, a sunk cost thing where he spent a lot of money on the statue and he doesn't want to get rid of it or put it away where he can't see it because, like, then why did he spend the money? I'm not sure if that's what this is because he's not really talking about money as being an issue in this post. To me, this reads like he sort of just selfishly enjoys this one decoration he has that's, let's be honest, probably a bit of an eyesore, maybe a charming eyesore, but an eyesore still, and she doesn't like it. And instead of taking into account her feelings, he's kind of dismissing her feelings, I feel like, by making a whole Reddit post saying, hey guys, can't I just keep my gorilla statue? Isn't it kind of silly that my girlfriend doesn't want me to keep my gorilla statue? It just reads a little bit douchey and a little bit obnoxious to me, but I'm gonna finish the post before I make a full judgment. I'm not trying to be petty. I just don't think it's fair to make me give up something that genuinely makes me happy because she doesn't like it. She says I'm being selfish and unserious about the relationship. I think she's being kind of controlling over something that honestly doesn't really matter that much. So, am I the asshole for refusing to get rid of Charlie? I don't like that he says it doesn't really matter that much, because it clearly does matter to her. And you can't, change that. You can't make it not matter to her, because she probably feels very strongly about what her own living environment feels like. It's a shared space. She lives there. It's going to be her home. She doesn't want to see a big monkey statue every time she comes home. And personally, I understand wanting to see a big monkey statue when you get home. I think that's kind of charming and cute. And if I could afford a $2,000 gorilla statue, I would probably buy a Nintendo Switch 2 with Mario Kart World. Here's the thing. You've had your time with the big $2,000 gorilla statue. You've had your time to look at it. And now that she's moved in, now that you're opening up a new chapter in your life, I don't think your home should have a monkey in it anymore if that's not what your girlfriend wants. I think you can have some sort of compromise, actually, to be clear. You could have a monkey if you wanted in the form of Donkey Kong Bonanza Blast for the Nintendo Switch 2. I do know it's called Donkey Kong Bonanza. I feel like it should be called Donkey Kong Bonanza Blast. This is a really important issue to me, and I'm gonna include a link to a petition in the description, so please check that out once the video is over. Something I want to point out about this story is that it is a very Reddit story. There's a life-size gorilla statue. I don't know how to explain this. It's a vibes thing, but that's a very Reddit thing. You have to see where I'm coming from, right? And his girlfriend won't let him keep it. His girlfriend won't let him keep the funny Reddit thing, and that in itself is another Reddit thing. Again, I don't know how to explain it. It's a vibes thing. I'm sure you understand. Basically, the point I'm making is I could see there being a lot of replies that are like, whoa, dude, you got a big monkey statue? That's awesome. Why is your girlfriend such a bitch? Not the asshole. I moved in with my husband fully knowing the 7-foot light-up Darth Vader with added holiday accessories was going to be a third party to our marriage. If she doesn't like your side quests, she's not your player too. It's just that simple. I somewhat agree with this, but the thing is, a relationship is about compromise. I think maybe she could compromise a little bit in terms of I don't think she should force him to throw it away. I don't think it would be good of her to make him throw out something that was so expensive, put it in storage or something. However, it's her living space. She has a say. I'm sorry, she has a say. If you're really that into gorillas, get some sort of nice gorilla picture or painting and frame it and put it on the wall, There are ways to compromise that I'm sure she would be happy with. And I just feel like he doesn't seem to be interested in any sort of compromise other than, putting him in the other room. I guess it would be nice to know what room he offered to put the gorilla in. Where are you going to put it? It's probably a small apartment. I just think maybe this is the type of thing you should store somewhere. I would really, really hate to have that statue in my home, and I still think not the asshole, especially because you offered to move it to another room. Cohabitation requires a lot of compromise, and unfortunately for her, she's got to find a compromise about an enormous gorilla statue. Good luck. Yes, but he needs to compromise too, I think. Maybe I'm just not taking into account enough the fact that he has offered to move it into another room. I want to be there when they're arguing about where the gorilla goes, because I want to know, did he say, well, I could put it in the bedroom, I could put it in the bathroom, I could put it in the dining room, there are so many rooms I could put it in. And it's like, you don't want it in any of those rooms. You don't want it in any room that you're going to be visiting often if it's something that genuinely bothers you. Not the asshole. Her refusal to compromise at all clearly shows it's about control. Her saying you have to choose means she hates your stuff more than she likes you. I lived in my now husband's pre-relationship house with nothing but bar wall decor, beer-scented carpet. Is this a carpet that's meant to be scented like beer? Or is this a carpet that has beer spilled on it a lot? I think it's probably the latter. And a tiny galley kitchen for a decade because I love him and wanted to be near him. Getting rid of his stupid stuff in his house with his name on the deed wasn't on my radar. I demanded new floors when I got pregnant, which he gladly installed for me because priorities changed. If her top priority is taking away your massively expensive object that you love, she needs to figure something out about being a partner. Okay, here's where I take issue. To me, I don't think it really particularly massively matters whether or not it's his name only on the apartment, because it is her space that she shares with him. It is their shared space together. It is her home, and she, I imagine, wants to be comfortable in her home. And what you right now, as her boyfriend, are doing is not allowing her to be comfortable in her home. Now, again, there is one detail here that is making this a little bit muddy for me, which is that he did offer to move it to another room. And I just need to know, it's so important to me to know how he offered that, what exactly he offered that she said no to. Because if he offered to put it in the bedroom and make a little corner for the gorilla in the bedroom, she might dislike that for the exact same reason that she dislikes having it in the living room. If there's some sort of attic or something that you can store it in, that would be ideal. And if she says no to that, then yes, she's being an asshole, I think. If she says no to you storing it somewhere where it won't be like proudly out on display, then I think that she's not willing to compromise. And I think that's not okay. But if it's really important to you that you have this big gorilla statue proudly on display somewhere in the house, in some room, anywhere in the house, it's seeming to me like that's more important than your girlfriend's comfort. And that's what I'm taking away from this post a little bit. It seems like he's dismissing her feelings regarding the gorilla statue because it's more important for him to have this big statue that brings him joy than it is for her to be comfortable. You've offered to move it to a different space, make a room your man cave and put it there. If she's really against that, she's trying to control you, period. Have you told her it makes you happy? I mean, if my spouse said, baby, this makes me happy, I love it, we would compromise, not issue an ultimatum. That is immature. I do agree, the ultimatum, not the best. But I think that was something she said because she was upset. I don't know. It's hard to say. If she's going to give ultimatums about things, wait until marriage. Or kids. Holy hell. I don't know. I don't know if there's an ultimatum here. Basically saying I have to choose between her and the statue. Are we sure? She says I'm being immature and not considering her feelings about our shared space. Really read that, like really think about that, because I feel like that's the main thing that's happening here. Basically saying I have to choose between her and the statue, that's kind of his inference about what she's saying, from my understanding, and I might be wrong, but it doesn't say anywhere here that she explicitly issued an ultimatum. People are reading into that because he said that, but the word basically is doing a lot of heavy lifting here, I feel like. She thinks he's ugly, childish, and says he makes the apartment feel like a man cave, and she's kind of right. Is the thing. It's tacky, right? Come on, big gorilla statue, it's a little tacky. Sure, it brings you joy, but now it's a shared space. You're sharing it with someone, and the way she feels in that space is important. She's feeling like she's living in your space that you've made your own, and you're not making it hers because of the gorilla statue. Now, again, I keep going back to this. If you're offering to store it somewhere or put it somewhere where she's not really ever going to see it, you know, make your own little like man cave space in a separate room, and she's not willing to do that, then yeah, I agree with a lot of the comments on this post, I think, if that is truly the case. Now, the issue here is I'm reading between the lines a little bit, and keep in mind, I know everything. When I read between the lines, what I'm seeing here, what I'm getting from this post is that this is a man who prioritizes his space being quirky over being comfortable for his girlfriend to live in. Finally, a picture. This is the gorilla I have. I should have done this way earlier. This is kind of what it would look like in the house. It's ugly. It's really ugly. I'm sorry. This is It kind of looks like shit, and I mean that literally. It kind of looks like poop. It's hideous. Let's talk about this now with the gorilla on screen, because I think that helps. This man has this really hideous gorilla in his house. She doesn't want this in the shared space. He refuses to budge, or maybe he is budging, and he's offered to put it in a different room that she won't be in. The way I see it, either he's at fault or she's at fault. If, and only if, he has offered to store it somewhere where she will not be going very often or at all. And she still is not allowing that. And she is basically forcing his hand and saying, you need to throw that ape away or sell it or something, or else we will break up. If that's the case, I think, yeah, she's basically the asshole, because she's forcing him to get rid of something that he owns and likes, and she's not, willing to compromise in any way. You are the asshole if all you have offered is to move it into another room that she does go to. You don't want that ape in the office. You don't want that ape in the bathroom, obviously. You don't want that ape in the dining room. You don't want that ape in the living room or in the laundry room. You don't want that ape anywhere. I'm sorry, you just don't. It does feel to me like this guy is not taking his girlfriend's feelings seriously and instead opting to dismiss them, get a bunch of Redditors on his side, because he does have a funny monkey statue, and Redditors love that shit. They go fucking banana for guys that eat bananas. It's not even that big. Your girlfriend needs to develop a sense of humor. See, this is Reddit. This is annoying, and I don't like I don't like the way that people on Reddit talk about women. It's weird, to be honest. Here's the thing. The story that was posted is his version of events. And this is true for every story that's posted to Reddit. But I think it's important to remember, this is his version of events, and everyone is replying to his version of events as if they are the real version of events. I know that when you give advice on Reddit, it's probably best to assume that the person you're giving advice to is being truthful about everything that he's saying and respond to the post as it exists. But I also think it's important to use your critical thinking skills. Before we move on, one more thing I do want to point out in the post that I think is worth examining. I wanted to reread this sentence here. I offered to move him into another room. Okay, this part, too vague. We've talked about this. Too vague. We're moving on from it. Or decorate the space around him to make it more cohesive. But she shot that down. She said, babe, I don't like the gorilla statue in the living room. I don't like looking at it. Can we please do something about it? And he said, okay, what if we put some bananas around it? Okay, what if we put some vines hanging from the ceiling right next? What if I grew some, I just think it's a little crazy and silly that she said, I don't like the gorilla. It's bothering me. And he said, what if I added more to the gorilla? Now I understand where he's coming from. I understand he's saying, well, let's make the space more cohesive by having the gorilla fit in with everything more. But what you're really saying here, and maybe you don't realize this, but what you're really suggesting here is, what if we made the space even more gorilla? What if we made the whole fucking apartment a jungle? I don't think she wants to live in a jungle. If she created this ultimatum, I think it's because she feels like you living in a jungle is more important to you than her being comfortable in her home. Is that crazy of me? Am I judging him too much? I kind of don't feel like I am. What a lot of these comments are missing is that he hasn't really offered to compromise all that much. Yes, there is the very vague, I offered to move it to another room. We don't really know the details there a whole lot. The compromise would be to find something else monkey themed that she also likes. That's the compromise. I don't think there's another compromise other than putting the gorilla in storage or putting it in like a man cave kind of situation, which maybe he did offer to do. It's unclear. I kind of just don't really like how all of these comments are acting like she is being unreasonable, because I don't feel like she is. And I feel like all of these Redditors are too attached to the gorilla, if I'm being honest. I think they find it too funny. It's turning on their blinders. All they can see is the gorilla. To their right and left is women's feelings. And they can't see that because they're too fixated on the gorilla. Everyone, I hope you liked the gorilla story. It is now time for the next Reddit story. This next story is from r/relationship advice. It was posted 14 days ago. I dislike when my girlfriend hypes herself. I'm a 24, and I've been with my girlfriend, 22, for over 2 years. We've had our ups and downs, but nothing out of the ordinary. There's one fight that comes up every now and then that I really want to solve. She says I don't ask about her day enough, and I don't give her enough compliments. That's a bummer. Honestly, she's right on both. I'm working actively on asking her more about her day. I know it should come naturally, but I'm just not that type. I'm kind of an introvert, and even with my family or friends, I struggle to ask how they're doing unless they bring it up first. So this is just one of those things, and I know not everyone's brain is the same way, and it is harder for some people to think of these things naturally and for it to come up organically. But you should have a sort of a natural curiosity about your girlfriend's life and your girlfriend's day and how it went. You should want to know how she's doing. I know we haven't gotten to the title yet. The thing is, him not asking her about her day and stuff, what it is probably doing is it's making her feel like he doesn't care. It's making her feel like how her day went and how she's feeling is just not really something that he's thinking about. It makes her feel like you're just not thinking about her. That's probably what it is. The compliment thing is even harder for me. My girlfriend likes to hype herself up, which is cool, but it bothers me a bit. Like if she tells a joke, she'll go, wow, I'm so funny. Or if she dresses up, she'll say how cute she looks, which she does. It's not over the top, but for some reason, when someone compliments themselves, I find it harder to add my own, even when she didn't yet hype herself up. It feels kind of cocky, even though I guess it stems from the insecurities and wanting reassurance. So now we're getting to it. This part right here, when someone compliments themselves, I find it harder to add my own. That's an excuse. That is an excuse that he came up with that he doesn't believe. That's what I think. What he's basically implying here with this excuse is that when she says, I'm so funny, or when she says, I look so cute, he's saying, oh man, now I can't tell her she's funny because she already said that. Or, oh man, now I can't tell her she's cute because she already said that. And I'll get to what you should do instead. But I find his reasoning here very shaky, not just because obviously he could just simply agree with her and say, yes, you do look very cute, or yes, you are very funny. He could just enthusiastically agree with her. And I think he knows that because of this next part. Even when she hasn't yet hyped up herself, hasn't yet come up with the compliment that he can no longer say because she said it, he still feels like she came up with the compliment that he can't say because she said it. You can see how that doesn't make any sense at all, right? Like, am I missing something? The reason I think I'm not missing something is because he then says it feels kind of cocky. And I think that's his main issue. I think the cockiness is unattractive to him, and it shouldn't be. Because when your partner is cocky, I think you should be happy for them, in my humble opinion. Now, obviously there's such a thing as too much cockiness, but from what I'm getting from this post, this is all just very normal couple stuff. Oh, I'm so funny. Oh, look how cute I look, you know? Like, that's all very normal stuff for your girlfriend to say to you. It feels like this cockiness bothers him because he doesn't like her. And that is a big thing to assume off of a few paragraphs that I've read so far. I haven't even finished this story. But it's hard not to see it that way, especially from her perspective. And, you know, if he does truly like her and he truly agrees with her compliments that she gives herself, he needs to say so. And he needs to figure out why this cockiness bothers him, because it might be something he needs to work through. Still, I want to be the guy who showers her with compliments and supports her. I just wish it felt more natural and less like I have to force it. And especially, I don't know how to talk with her about it without hurting her feelings. Do I even have to do it or just work on myself? Thanks for reading. And if you have unrelated advice or questions, feel free. If you have unrelated questions, feel free to ask me what my favorite Doctor Who episode is. If you want to tell me not to put a gorilla in the living room, feel free to tell me that too. Just as long as it's unrelated. If I had to guess, this guy is probably neurodivergent in some way and struggles with being in a relationship and doing relationship things. And I think he probably should just go to therapy and figure this out, because this is something he needs to work on with himself. I don't know if he should talk to his girlfriend about it. It's probably a good idea to communicate how he's feeling with his girlfriend, but also it's hard not to look at this and feel like, well, so do you not like her? Like, what's stopping you from complimenting your girlfriend? What barrier is there in your mind that makes you not want to agree with her when she says she looks cute? Is it that you don't think she looks cute? It seems like in this post he wants us to believe that he does think she's cute. So let's say it's not that. So what is it? If this guy who wrote this post truly likes his girlfriend, thinks she's cute, thinks she's funny, what he needs to do is verbalize his thoughts when he has them. If he looks at her and thinks she looks cute, he should say, you look cute today, you know? If she says something funny, then he should say, you're so funny. Now, if she says something not funny and then says, wow, I'm so funny, that's a different joke, by the way. That's being overly cocky as a joke, right? I do that all the time. I will say the stupidest fucking thing and then go, I'm hilarious. I'm the funniest guy in the world, which is true, by the way. And I know everything. I guess what makes this difficult is I don't really understand what's stopping him. And I know everyone's brain is different. I know some things are just naturally happen to be harder for some people, even if they don't want it to be. So he might just struggle with giving compliments even though he wants to. That's something he just needs to work through. It's something he needs to figure out because it is clearly having an effect on her. It is messing with her confidence. Let's look at some comments. I have a feeling they're going to be a little bit meaner to this guy than I was. Sounds like she's paying herself the attention you won't give her because it's so hard for you. Yikes. That's what is happening, it feels like. People want to feel feel seen and celebrated by their partners. So even if it feels forced, you need to find a way to extend your comfort to bring her a bit of joy. A good first step is just to always try and ask questions centered around her, like, how was your day? Or tell me more about that presentation you did at work. It shows that you listen and care. As for small random compliments, if she says she looks good, agree, and then maybe tell her one piece of her outfit or makeup you like. You do look great. I really like the flowers on your shirt. It looks cool. This is great advice. OP needs to listen to this advice. Very good advice. I think some people just struggle with this kind of thing, and maybe that's what this is. Now, the flip side of this is it feels forced for him. What is a forced compliment? A forced compliment is kind of a lie, right? Like that's the way most people would think about a compliment being forced. It's forced because you're saying something you don't truly believe, right? I second this. My boyfriend is similar to OP and I'm similar to the girlfriend. I tend to hype myself, but I found after thinking things through that I do it because I long to hear it from him in hopes that he would agree and I'd feel validated and reassured. So adding on would really help. Yes, exactly. You just need to agree with her. That's like step one, right? Like that's the easiest thing you can do is just simply agree with her when she hypes herself up. Step two is start being the person who takes initiative to do that before she does. You've said yourself that sometimes there will be cases where she has not yet hyped herself up and you can see it coming. In those instances, you got to get that compliment in before she does. It's weird to me that you're calling her cocky and implying she's self-centered when you don't even ask about the people you love. She's confident. What's your problem with that? Yeah, exactly. The word cocky is kind of a bit of a tell in this post. What it tells me is that he kind of doesn't respect her when she is complimenting herself. He feels like it's a bad look. He thinks it's tacky or whatever. When she is complimenting herself, in his mind, he is directly thinking, I don't really like this aspect of her personality. And so that's what he's focused on instead of complimenting her. That's why I think maybe he doesn't then go, yes, I agree you look cute, or yes, I agree you're funny, is because he's focused thinking on, she's so cocky, you know? Like, you can't fixate on that. She should like how she looks. It's good to be confident. Cockiness can be a bad thing. It doesn't feel like that's what's happening here. You even used the word kinda in front of cocky to show us you don't really feel like she's being all that cocky, even though I guess it stems from insecurities and wanting reassurance. What he means is that she is craving reassurance. And he knows that. He is saying that he knows that. And he's saying that he knows she's insecure. So this I guess here is to kind of, it's minimizing the emotional effect that it has on her. He's saying it like, I guess she's insecure. I guess she wants reassurance. Like it's something that doesn't really matter, or like it's something that you're not really sure of. I think you are sure. It sounds like you know what's up. There's a chance that maybe you don't believe her, that it comes from insecurity. So maybe you're just thinking, oh, she's so cocky and she uses that insecure excuse about her and being insecure. She uses that as an excuse to be cocky. So what you can do now, if that's the way you think, which you shouldn't, by the way, don't give her that excuse. Don't give her that excuse to be cocky. Take the initiative and be cocky for her, towards her. I guess that's just called complimenting her. Just compliment her, man. Like, come on. I want to know what you think. I want to know if you have any opinions on the stories that I have read. I want to know if you think I'm wrong. And if you do think I'm wrong, I want you to keep that to yourself. I want to know it, but I want you to keep it to yourself. If you think I'm right, I want to know that even more, and I want you to tell me that. In fact, I think I want every comment to tell me that I'm right, and I want every comment to tell me that I'm handsome and funny. Thank you, and goodbye. Oh, I never talked about subscribe and stuff. That's bad, right? Subscribe and stuff, if you haven't. And if you already have, thanks for that. And I'm going to be doing a lot more Reddit videos in the future, just because it's easy for me. Sorry, Julian Reddit era begins now. Okay, bye-bye for real.